why is it that people aren't seeing as many quality assets coming onto the market as they thought they would? So I think that in order to analyse that, you need to look at where the industry's gone over the last 18 months. And in fact, since mid-2014 when the commodity price crash started. And so what you initially saw was the people with bad balance sheets and inevitably bad assets were the first ones to struggle and to be put under pressure. Then the second wave was, the sorts of corporates that we all thought were untouchable. Their balance sheets came under huge financial pressure because they had simply geared up way too much during the mining boom with access to cheap debt capital markets in the US. And so what you saw in the second half of 2015 was a number of the big names came under pressure. So the Anglo-American, Barrick, Glencore, Freeport, all really credible, established corporates with high quality assets were forced into a position where they had to deal. I think what's surprised everyone is that as they've gone through this process of dealing with these assets, there's probably two things that have surprised people. Firstly, that there aren't that many assets coming onto the market that are as high quality as we had all hoped. And so that also feeds through to the fact that there also, despite everyone's perceptions that there would be limited bidders, there in fact are a lot of bidders in the market looking for the opportunities to secure assets that might not otherwise be available. So what we're finding is that when the quality assets do come onto the market, there's a lot of competition for them. And the view is that, for example, in respect of the Tenke asset, that there were a lot of people looking at the Tenke asset, and that China Moly ultimately paid a price that was above the sorts of prices that have been paid over recent years in general, even towards the end of the boom, for copper assets. So the overall message is that despite the downturn and despite the fact that even the best balance sheets have come under pressure, there's still a limited number of high quality assets coming onto the market, because the corporates are finding that they're able to put their assets, one or two assets out there, get a great degree of interest and get quite high prices for them, which puts them in a position where they're able to rebalance their balance sheets and then go forward. So which commodities and which commodity producers are experiencing the most distress at the moment? I think that question has an important assumption to it, that you can't generalise about commodities and commodity prices, that you have to look at each commodity on its own, and in general, the bulk commodities, the coal and the iron ore type commodities, are in difficulty, and the degree of opportunities in those sectors is really under question, partly because there's a question around what the upside's going to be. How long is the iron ore price and the coal price going to stay depressed? Realistically, what's the long-term outlook for coal given the changing fuel mix globally, etc.? On the flip side, you have other commodities that are still seen as having significant upside. So copper, gold, nickel is probably not one. Zinc is one where there's upside. And so what's driving the copper, the degree of interest in copper is quite extraordinary, but you'd have to say that there still must be an ongoing degree of confidence that copper consumption is going to remain on the rise globally. It's just such a fundamental metal. But more significantly, that there are very few new major copper mines being discovered. If people are seeing a quality copper asset come onto the market, they'll move very quickly to secure it because there's very few new copper projects coming onto the market. So copper definitely. Gold is another one where the gold price has continued to rise as there remains, uncertainty around Europe and uncertainty around the global economy as a whole.